There seems to be no end in sight to the country's lingering petrol scarcity. The queues at the fuel station seem to get longer by the day, causing traffic gridlock at several locations, even as black market traders take advantage of the situation. Now in Nigeria, if you're a car owner or not, you still suffer the heat. You suffer the heat of the long queues that lead to traffic congestions and then causing, lateness to wherever you're going to. But like I said, black market traders have taken advantage of that situation, and they're now selling at more than twice the official pump price. Well, Benard Akede here packaged a report. He went there to see the situation for himself, and then he put up this package. We'll take a look at it, and we'll be right back to talk about it on the back end.
The ever-present queues, now a more than familiar sight at the few petrol stations that have products to sell. Some fuel stations have simply stopped selling.
Arguably, this has to be the longest and probably most complicated petrol crisis in the city of Lagos and probably other cities across Nigeria, lasting since October 2022 up until mid-January 2023. And the worst part is, there doesn't seem to be any end in sight, and no one is given a conclusive solution or reason as to why this petrol scarcity is lingering on.
At certain stations where petrol was available, the situation was chaotic. People having to stay on long queues for hours, hoping that the pumps don't run dry before it gets to their turn.
It's not been easy. I've been here since 8 o'clock. I should be around after 3 by now. For now, we've not seen any reason stated. No single message from the federal government that this is the reason why you guys are having these kiosks around your fuel stations around.
But not far from the stations selling petrol, black marketers can be seen freely hawking petrol in jerry cans of different shapes and sizes. While the station attendants claim they do not sell to customers in jerry cans for this same reason, some believe the black marketers tip the attendants so as to buy in jerry cans only to resell at twice the pump price.
This fuel station I noticed are selling 185. Others are selling 240, 270. They're even in the same environment. But as it is now, they are not selling 185. That's why we have much queue. Because people can't afford the 240. They can only afford the 185.
It's find it difficult to buy fuel in keg because each time we come, they say they are not selling because of the black markets people around. But for me, I think it's from the fuel station because they are the one allowing the black markets to sell around.
The question at this point would be, what exactly is the official pump price of petrol in Nigeria? The Petroleum Products Pricing Regulatory Agency, PPPRA, is responsible for determining the pricing of petroleum products in addition to other duties. But as at the time this report was compiled, there has been no official statement from the PPPRA. Since almost everything in Nigeria is related to the use of petrol, the ripple effect of the petrol scarcity and hike in price is already being felt as the general cost of living skyrockets.
No one knows for certain when this petrol scarcity will eventually come to an end, or if the pump price of petrol will once again be regulated and be uniform. But one thing is sure, whoever takes the mantle of authority after Nigeria's general elections in February must have a concrete and lasting plan for Nigeria's petrol issues. Benard Akede, reporting for News Central.
Well, there you have it. That was the report on the fuel scarcity in Nigeria, especially Lagos State. You saw the long queue, like I said earlier. Everybody feels the heat. And Benard Akede was there. And he wasn't just there. He's also feeling the heat. And also joining us to discuss this is News Central's correspondent, Dapo Adegboye. Thank you so much, Dapo, for joining us.
Thank you for having me. I thought you would also include me as part of those feeling the heat, because I really am also.
Oh, we all are. Aren't we all feeling the heat?
Oh, come on.
Yeah, that's what we're having you talk about. We know you're so passionate about,
Yes.
Africa, the country, especially fuel issues. That's why we have you here. But anyways, gentlemen, now we see the situation on the ground. I mean, coming to work today was a hassle for me. I don't know about you. I mean, I know about you. We're all feeling it. So, so it was a challenging situation. The long queues that have caused a lot of traffic congestion. And not to talk about, the price at which they're selling it. Someone in that report talked about the black market price, and he was saying that the fuel, the fault is from the fuel stations that allow them. But to be honest, are they going to pursue them with canes? That's what I was asking Benard Akede here. So I'm just going to ask Benard, first of all, you went there to see for yourself, and from all of that, what would you say is the mood in Nigeria. How would you say it's affecting the people in the country? I mean, this has gone on from October 2022, and now we're in January 2023. We're still talking about fuel scarcity. So, what is the mood like?
Now, the thing is, it's not the first time clearly that the country has seen fuel crisis or fuel scarcity. As a matter of fact, we cracked this joke here in the office that if we were to do reports on fuel crisis, we don't need to go out to look. We have enough material to sit on our desk and do a report on fuel crisis, because in the year 2022, we had about, if I'm not mistaken, nothing less than 4 different issues concerning fuel scarcity or petrol scarcity back to back at different points in time. But this time is different because now Nigerians are confused as to what exactly the pump price of petrol is at the moment. That's one. 2, this has lingered on for so long and it never really went away from October last year up until January this year. So it is pretty, quite confusing. The fact that nobody is saying anything, no government official is saying anything, makes it more confusing. The fact that the country is leading into election period makes it even more confusing. So there's so many issues. And then let's not forget the fact that petrol is attached to almost everything that Nigerians do. You want to drive your car, you need petrol. You want to run your generator, you need petrol. For the woman in the market who is grinding peppers and tomatoes, she needs petrol for her grinding machine. For the vulcanizer on the road who needs to pump your tire, he needs petrol. For the transporters, they need petrol. So automatically, the cost price of everything goes up because one, it's difficult to get petrol. Where you can get it, it's more expensive than usual. So these people have to make profit. Don't forget those who still go by public transportation. Now, I'm sure every one of us gets to see huge numbers of persons at the bus stations or the bus stops because vehicles are in short supply, and where they're actually in supply, there's just so many people trying to get in at the same time. So it really, really is confusing at the moment.
In the newsroom, before we came in on this show, we were having this conversation and we're talking about fuel scarcity. We're talking about the skyrocketing in prices. And let's not forget the fact that we're also battling electricity issues right now. A lot of people don't have, electricity in their homes. But that aside, Dapo, there's this I don't care attitude by the authorities. And, like someone said, nobody's saying anything. And the bad thing about the whole situation is Nigerians have this, we always say this, that they learn to adapt to situations. Seeing how it's been on and off for the longest time, it's like, it has started again, let's just, go with the flow. And it's not, a good thing to adapt to. Benard just talked about the fact that we're approaching election period. Don't you think that these people owe us an explanation of what exactly is going on? Nobody knows what the price is, nobody knows what is causing this, and nobody knows how to fix this.
I mean, I totally agree with you, Blessings. Now, you said something about the situation. That's Benard saying, if we were to do a report, we won't have to go out. I even think we can start doing probably a count up on the days this queue has continued, probably on the corner of the station screen, saying probably day 128 days of fuel scarcity. It's really that bad. And it's worse because Nigeria in particular is an oil-producing state. I was at a conference today where they ruled out countries that benefited during COVID. And even during this Russia-Ukraine war that all countries, or many countries are blaming for most of the economic woes. And they said the country, some might disbelieve in all of that, but they mentioned Angola as part of the beneficiaries during these very critical times. Where am I going? All right, so you asked a very salient question as regards, haven't we gotten any official response? Don't Nigeria deserve a response? Definitely they do. I think as of today, the official Minister of Petroleum is Mr. President. I stand to be corrected. Even though we have a GMD and MD of the NNPC. But officially, Mr. President, that's President Muhammadu Buhari, is the Minister of Petroleum. He hasn't dropped any statements. I haven't heard anything. The closest to what I have had so far is an interview on one of the dailies today. That's the interview granted to the chairman of the Independent Petroleum Marketers Association of Nigeria, IPMAN, where he said he blamed the NNPCL and said that the reason is because they are politicizing the issue. He also brought up the issue of subsidy, saying that probably subsidy removal and operating a free market system within that sector would allow, situations like this to go probably forever. He also said one way out also is to allow local refineries to function.
To thrive, yes.
I mean, this is not the first time Nigerians are having, this particular conversation. And again, we go back to, probably if Dangote, the Dangote refinery comes into, operation, maybe all of this.
I've had this conversation. I'm sorry to interrupt you. I've had this conversation several times concerning Dangote refinery. I'd like to clarify that Dangote refinery is a private business entity. Exactly. So it's out to make its own money. And let's not forget, if Dangote is able to refine crude oil and through fractional distillation, break it down to its various components and have different products from crude oil and can sell them, he's not selling them for Nigeria alone. He's going to sell to other countries who also need crude oil. It doesn't mean that petrol is going to be cheaper in Nigeria. I strongly believe that the only thing that can make things better is if the Nigerian refineries also begin to function individually as well.
Yeah, so just to give us a clearer picture of what is happening. Now, I'm going back to that particular interview. He further said that the cost at which many of these independent marketers are getting it from the depot runs between 230 naira to about 250 naira. That's why you find some unpopular names sell fuel as high as 250, 300 per liter. And the very popular ones sell at the official 170, 169. But if you also do your findings, you see that those ones that sell at 170, 169, the queues are many there.
Of course.
Yeah,
right?
of course.
But they don't have it all the time. For those that sell over 250, go and check. It's usually a drive-in, but there are very few. Now, the question is this: how feasible, is it buying at that particular rate? So I just feel that, look, number one, the way to go is this. The government should release an official statement. Give Nigerians
deserve that.
A perspective as to what is happening. Politicians right now are afraid because we are in the electioneering period. Probably they feel that one, one uncalculated move might cost them during the election. So probably they're just trying to politicize and delay.
It seems as though,
apologies,
apologies. It seems as though when elections when elections are approaching, it's like the politicians now begin to act oblivious of the situation. So whether or not they don't want to say anything about it, so it won't affect their the elections, is what people don't know, because these situation needs clarification. Nobody's saying anything.
I think it's quite an irony, because you would think that when the elections are coming, particularly the party in
you
power,
will be accountable.
You want to do everything in your power and out of your power to ensure that people are satisfied and happy enough to vote you back into office.
But again, you would also want to say they are trying to be careful. For instance, if they allow some of these independent marketers, or they make it official and say, you know what, sell at whatever rate appeals to you. Imagine buying petrol at 400 naira per liter. People will come out and scream, and they'll say there's hardship. And the party might think, that can cost us the elections. So you might look at all of these factors and say it's one reason. I want to state a personal experience I had to go through. You talked about black marketers. Look, 2 days ago, at the beginning of the week, I was coming to work, and there was a particular exit I was meant to take. I realized that the queue was so long, and I had passed where I was meant to come in. Long and short, I didn't know what was going on, so I was held by the road officials, LASMA. And the guy was like, I'm trying to make a detour or turning in, that I should have done it from the beginning. I said, I don't understand. This road is a free road. And he told me that the queue is as long from Adiola Odeku, straight, almost getting to Obalinde. And I'm like, this absolutely makes no sense. At the end of the day, it gave me a clear perspective as to what is happening and how his men are trying to sort of resolve the situation. My point is this. You talked about the black marketers. Sometimes some people on the road have no choice but to patronize these guys. When you look at the length of it's snake-like. So you that have a business, you have where you are going, you are running short on fuel, the little fuel you have, you are stuck in traffic. You would also want to look for an alternative. So I think the way forward is this, to land. Number one, we need the local refineries working. Definitely. Number two, maybe if subsidy has to go, let Nigerians know what's up. And then number three, please, you are the leader. Even though it's an electioneering period, people deserve some sort of official response, something they can hold on to and say, this is a reason. You don't just leave people in the dark. I think it's rather insensitive.
And I think that's one thing that Africa, the governments in Africa still lacks, that accountability. I mean, the Petroleum Pricing Regulatory Authorities or body, they're the ones responsible for determining the prices, but still nothing from them. Nil. The government, nothing. And the people are just in the dark, really frustrated about what the whole situation is. But hopefully we have a lasting solution to this problem.
Hopefully. There's so much to say. There's so much I would have loved to say, but you know, we're short of time. Maybe we will come back to this conversation. There's just so much to unwrap concerning this petrol scarcity issue. Anyway,
thank you, gentlemen. Thank you so much, Dapo, and thank you, Benard, for covering that.